Documentary history. In the year 1595, the Ottoman Empire stood as one of the greatest powers on earth. Its capital, Constantinople, was filled with marble palaces, golden mosques, and the treasures of 3 continents. From the deserts of Arabia to the mountains of Hungary, the Sultan's rule was unquestioned. But beneath the glory of empire lay a darkness that still chills the heart of history. When Sultan Mehmed III rose to the throne, his first act was not of mercy or celebration, but of blood. On the very night of his coronation, he ordered the death of his 19 brothers. The Ottomans had lived with his shadow for generations. Every sultan had many wives and concubines, and therefore many sons. When the throne became empty, all sons were considered rightful heirs. But in the history of the empire, this meant war. Brothers raised armies against each other, cities were burned, and thousands of soldiers and civilians were killed, simply because 2 or 3 princes wanted the same crown. In the 15th century, Sultan Mehmed II, the conqueror of Constantinople, decided that this endless bloodshed must end. He issued a law that declared, whoever inherits the throne, it is his right to kill his brothers for the sake of order in the world. Harsh and cruel, yet accepted by scholars and nobles, it became the Law of Fratricide. By the time Mehmed III became sultan, this law was deeply rooted in Ottoman tradition. When his father, Sultan Mehmed III, died, Mehmed took the throne at the age of 28. But the crown was not his alone until the law was carried out. That night, inside the great palace of Topkapi, 19 of his half-brothers, sons of other concubines, were gathered. Most were children, some still babies. Their mothers wept and begged for mercy, but there was none. Soldiers entered with silk cords, for royal blood could not be spilled. One by one, the children were strangled. By dawn, 19 small bodies lay in the royal cemetery, buried quickly, without ceremony, while Mehmed sat as the uncontested ruler of the empire. To us, this is unimaginable cruelty, but to the Ottomans, it was law. Religious scholars defended it, saying it was better for a few to die than for thousands to be lost in a civil war. Foreign ambassadors in Istanbul wrote letters of horror. A Venetian reported that the city mourned for the innocents, but no one dared protest, for this was the custom of the Turks. The streets were quiet, but in the palace the walls still echoed with the cries of mothers who had lost their children. The new sultan carried this burden for the rest of his life. Mehmed III ruled for only 8 years, but his reign was remembered less for victories and more for fear. He rarely left the palace, living in paranoia that someone would rise against him. His mother, Safiye Sultan, became the real power behind the throne, while he withdrew into shadows. Some chroniclers wrote that he was haunted by nightmares, unable to forget the night when silk cords silenced the voices of his brothers. And yet, the empire continued to expand. Ottoman armies marched into Hungary, fighting long wars against the Habsburgs. Victories were won, but the Sultan remained trapped in his guilt. His name was never remembered as a conqueror or builder, but as the ruler who had 19 graves at the foundation of his throne. For the women of the palace, the grief was unbearable. The mothers of the strangled princes were powerless. Some were executed, others were sent away to remote palaces, their lives empty and broken. They had been brought to the palace to bear sons for the dynasty, but when their sons were born, they became victims of the very system they served. Their tears remained hidden behind the golden screens of the harem, their cries echoing in silence long after their children were gone. The Law of Fratricide did not end with Mehmed III. Later sultans also killed brothers, though none on such a scale. But the horror of the act disturbed even the Ottomans themselves. By the 17th century, the practice was slowly abandoned. Instead of killing princes, they were locked away in the Kafes, the golden cage. Inside the palace, these princes lived under house arrest for life, with food and books, but no freedom, no wives, and no children. Many grew old in isolation. Some went mad, and others died without ever seeing the outside world again. It was less bloody, but still a prison of despair. The story of Mehmed III remains one of the darkest in royal history. The Law of Fratricide was seen as necessary for peace, but its cost was human lives, often the lives of children. The Ottomans believed they were saving the empire from civil war, but they left behind a legacy of cruelty that no crown of gold could erase. Today, when visitors walk through the halls of Topkapi Palace in Istanbul, they admire its beauty, the glittering tiles, the gardens, the golden domes. Few realize that in these same halls, 19 innocent princes were silenced forever on a single night in 1595. Beneath the marble floors and the delicate calligraphy lies a memory written not in ink, but in blood. The Ottomans may have called it order. History calls it tragedy. The throne of Mehmed III was safe, but at the price of 19 graves. And the echoes of those cries remind us of the brutal truth. In the struggle for power, even family can become sacrifice. If you found this story powerful, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, share it with your friends, and leave your comments below. In our next video, we will uncover another royal secret that history tried to hide.